Every decade has a machine that quietly rewrites the rules of luxury, not through flash or noise, but through sheer presence. Imagine stepping into an era where craftsmanship was measured not by digital screens, but by the weight of a door closing with authority. This story is about that kind of car, the kind that told the world what true refinement meant, and did it without shouting. We are about to trace the journey of a machine that captured the essence of post-war optimism and turned it into a moving statement of taste. It bridged old-world elegance and modern engineering, defining what success looked like from boardrooms to boulevards. The story unfolds through its creation, its design philosophy, and the way it left a permanent mark on automotive luxury. Before we dive into how it all came together and what made it so special, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more deep dives into automotive icons, and comment below on which classic you want covered next. The Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 of 1971 was not born in a vacuum. It emerged from a decade of change when the world demanded a new kind of luxury. The 1960s had left behind the excess of fins and chrome, replacing it with a more disciplined, international idea of sophistication. Mercedes understood this cultural shift better than most. The W108 series became their response to a generation that wanted refinement without spectacle. In a time when many manufacturers were still chasing visual flamboyance, Mercedes engineers pursued proportion, precision, and performance. The 280 SE 3.5 represented the culmination of that pursuit, merging aesthetic restraint with a level of power and smoothness that quietly set new standards. To appreciate how the 1971 280 SE 3.5 came to be, you have to understand Mercedes-Benz mindset at the end of the 1960s. The company's engineering core was defined by a sense of technical duty. Cars were built to last decades, not model years. The W108 platform had already earned a reputation for grace and dependability, but Mercedes wanted to elevate it into something more emotionally resonant. They envisioned a sedan that could appeal to heads of state and discerning professionals alike, a car that could glide across continents while making the driver feel as if every movement had been preordained by logic. The key was balance. The engineers in Stuttgart aimed for a perfect harmony between power and poise, between traditional craftsmanship and emerging technology. The previous straight-six engines were renowned for their silkiness but lacked the effortless surge that the growing American market demanded. The answer arrived in the form of a 3.5-liter V8, compact yet strong, refined yet assertive. It marked the first time a V8 found its way into a mid-size Mercedes sedan, and it transformed the personality of the W108 platform. Suddenly, the 280 SE 3.5 had the authority to back its elegant composure. This V8 engine, known internally as the M116, was a revelation in its time. With overhead camshafts, Bosch electronic fuel injection, and an output of around 200 horsepower, it wasn't just powerful, it was intelligent. The throttle response was linear, the idle near silent, the acceleration fluid rather than frantic. It demonstrated how engineering precision could deliver emotion without breaking decorum. While rivals chased raw numbers, Mercedes crafted a driving experience that felt like control embodied. That philosophy, of performance as refinement, became the core of the W108 280 SE 3.5's appeal. But mechanical excellence was only part of the story. The design language of the 280 SE 3.5 told its own story of quiet revolution. Paul Braque, the French designer behind many of Mercedes' most iconic forms, created a body that appeared timeless from the day it debuted. The lines were stately yet light, with subtle curvature and an almost architectural simplicity. No fin flamboyance, no contrived gestures, just precision and proportion. The upright grille, the slightly flared fenders, and the restrained use of chrome all conveyed one message: confidence without excess. It was a car that could stand next to a royal palace or in front of a modernist home and never feel out of place. Inside, the cabin reflected the same duality. rich with veneers and soft leather surfaces met with switchgear that felt machined, not molded. The 280 SE 3.5's interior carried the aura of craftsmanship that could only come from human hands. Every control had weight, every texture was chosen for its tactile honesty. Even the clock on the dash ticked with the precision of a timepiece rather than the urgency of a gadget. There was something deeply reassuring about that attention to detail. It reminded the driver that luxury wasn't just about appearance, but about how the world responded when you interacted with it. By 1971, the W108 280 SE 3.5 had become a cultural barometer. It was the car of diplomats, executives, and artists who understood that true influence rarely needed to announce itself. It wasn't the flashiest car in the lot, but it was the one that others unconsciously respected. The press lauded its engineering, owners admired its balance, and enthusiasts saw in it a turning point, the moment when Mercedes-Benz began to define modern luxury rather than merely reflect it. Yet the appeal of the 280 SE 3.5 went beyond materials and mechanics. It was about attitude. Driving one felt like stepping into a rhythm where everything worked as it should. The steering was deliberate, the suspension firm yet forgiving, the brakes progressive rather than abrupt. On the open road, it offered a sensation few cars could match, a calm authority that invited distance, conversation, and composure. The car didn't demand attention, it simply earned it. In this first chapter of its story, the Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 established itself as more than a product of its time. It represented a statement of intent for the decades to come, that luxury could be rational, that technology could serve grace, and that true power came from refinement. It was a bridge between the hand-built elegance of the past and the engineered precision of the future. And as we move forward, we will see how this philosophy faced its first real test in a world that was about to change faster than anyone expected. The next part of this journey explores how the 280 SE 3.5 adapted to those pressures and what its design and performance revealed about the evolving definition of prestige. When the Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 entered the 1970s, it found itself standing at the crossroads of tradition and transformation. The automotive world was shifting, new regulations, new customer expectations, and the first whispers of an oil crisis were beginning to reshape the market. Yet the 280 SE 3.5 managed to hold its ground, not by resisting change, but by embracing it intelligently. This sedan wasn't just a continuation of what Mercedes had been building, it was a preview of what the brand would become. The 1971 Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 had to navigate a world that suddenly wanted efficiency alongside elegance. The challenge was clear. How could a V8 luxury sedan maintain its grace when the world around it was questioning indulgence? Mercedes-Benz engineers approached that question not with compromise, but with calibration. They refined the car's mechanical systems, tuned its suspension for better composure, and optimized its fuel-injected V8 for smoother, more predictable performance. Every adjustment was made to sustain the integrity of the experience, ensuring that the car's essence, effortless movement, and understated confidence remained intact. While the industry's spotlight was turning toward innovation for innovation's sake, the 280 SE 3.5 demonstrated the virtue of intelligent evolution. It introduced an early form of balance that would later define the brand's philosophy, the fusion of mechanical precision and human comfort. The automatic transmission worked in harmony with the V8's torque curve. The independent suspension absorbed imperfections without numbing the driver. Mercedes-Benz didn't just build a car, it built an environment where technology existed to enhance composure. That principle was years ahead of its time. But beyond its engineering, the 280 SE 3.5 embodied a subtle cultural shift. In the early 1970s, conspicuous consumption began to lose its charm. The public appetite for luxury was changing from display to discernment. The Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 became the perfect expression of that mood. It looked powerful without aggression, expensive without ostentation, and sophisticated without pretense. It wasn't the car that shouted success, it was the one that confirmed it quietly. In that sense, it didn't just reflect its era, it influenced it. Owners of the 280 SE 3.5 often describe the experience as one of serenity. Even at highway speeds, the cabin remained calm, the engine barely audible. This sense of tranquility wasn't accidental. Mercedes-Benz invested heavily in isolation technology, using double-layered insulation, improved door seals, and precisely balanced components. Each element was engineered to eliminate vibration and fatigue. The result was a sedan that didn't just transport its occupants, it cocooned them. It made distance irrelevant and turned travel into ritual. At the same time, the W108 280 SE 3.5 represented a turning point in Mercedes-Benz design philosophy. The company began to see the car not just as a machine, but as an ambassador of values, durability, respect, and quiet confidence. These ideals became embedded in every Mercedes that followed. The lessons learned from the W108 platform directly influenced the next generation of S-Class sedans, which would carry the torch of technological leadership and timeless elegance. In this way, the 280 SE 3.5 became both an end and a beginning, the final expression of the analog era and the first step into the modern age of luxury engineering. What made the 1971 280 SE 3.5 so compelling was its ability to merge seemingly opposite qualities. It was powerful yet gentle, formal yet inviting, traditional yet forward-looking. Its restraint gave it strength. This duality turned the W108 280 SE 3.5 into an automotive archetype, a template for how to build cars that last both mechanically and emotionally. Decades later, collectors and enthusiasts still marvel at how complete the car feels, how every click of a switch or sweep of the speedometer speaks of purpose. Even the way the 280 SE 3.5H tells its story. Unlike many cars of its era, it retained dignity rather than nostalgia. Park one today, and it doesn't seem like a relic, it feels like an elder statesman. That timelessness is no accident, it was designed into every angle, stitch, and tolerance. Mercedes-Benz engineers built the car with the understanding that prestige was not about fashion, but about consistency. The W108 280 SE 3.5 carries that consistency like a signature, visible in its mechanical durability and its visual balance. Throughout the 1970s, as the automotive landscape evolved rapidly, the 280 SE 3.5 remained a touchstone for excellence. It inspired competitors to rethink what luxury meant, pushing them toward refinement instead of extravagance. But while others tried to imitate its formula, few matched its composure. The secret was not just in materials or horsepower, it was in philosophy. Mercedes-Benz never viewed luxury as an accessory, it viewed it as a responsibility. To own a 280 SE 3.5 was to participate in that responsibility, to experience what it meant when engineering and ethics aligned. In retrospect, the car's understated brilliance becomes even clearer. The W108 280 SE 3.5 wasn't loud about its accomplishments because it didn't need validation. It was created to be definitive, not decorative. And in doing so, it established a DNA that would shape decades of Mercedes-Benz sedans that followed. Its legacy is not only mechanical but cultural. It defined how prestige could coexist with practicality, how power could express itself through calmness, and how technology could serve elegance without overshadowing it. As we move to the next segment, the story of the 1971 Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 turns toward its lasting impact. We will explore how this car influenced modern automotive philosophy, why collectors continue to revere it, and how it remains a symbol of what happens when craftsmanship and conviction converge in perfect harmony. The legacy of the 1971 Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 stretches far beyond its production years. When it left the assembly line, it carried with it a blueprint that would influence every Mercedes luxury sedan for decades. The W108 280 SE 3.5 was more than a sum of parts. It was a statement about values, and those values became the foundation of an entire lineage. Its quiet authority, its deliberate engineering, and its timeless design each became cornerstones of what we now recognize as the Mercedes-Benz identity. At its core, the 280 SE 3.5 taught the world that progress and tradition could coexist. In an era when technology was accelerating, the car stood as proof that innovation could be subtle, even graceful. The 3.5-liter V8 was advanced for its time, but it was never about shock value or excess. Instead, it embodied purpose, power made civilized, engineering made artful. When Mercedes later developed its S-Class line, the spirit of the 280 SE 3.5 was at its heart. The same attention to tactile quality, the same focus on effortless motion, the same belief that true luxury should never feel rushed, all of it can be traced back to this single model. For many enthusiasts, the 1971 Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 represents a high watermark in mechanical honesty. Everything about it feels intentional. The steering has weight, not stiffness. The throttle responds smoothly, not sharply. The suspension communicates without intrusion. There are no unnecessary layers between driver and machine. This purity of experience has become increasingly rare in modern cars, which rely heavily on software to interpret intention. The W108 280 SE 3.5 reminds us of a time when human skill and mechanical perfection were still in direct conversation. Collectors often speak of the car with a particular reverence. Restored examples command respect not because they are rare, but because they are complete expressions of an idea. The way the chrome trim aligns, the way the engine settles into an idle, the way the wood grain catches the light, it all reflects an obsession with correctness. But more than its craftsmanship, it's the car's character that continues to captivate. A W108 280 SE 3.5 doesn't overwhelm the senses, it engages them. You notice the smell of aged leather, the soft click of the door latch, the measured pace of its acceleration. These sensations are subtle, but they define an emotional experience that transcends mere transportation. Culturally, the car still carries a certain magnetism. It appears in films and photo shoots not as nostalgia, but as shorthand for sophistication. Its shape communicates stability, intellect, and confidence. Even those who know nothing about cars recognize its silhouette as something significant. That is the power of design purity, when form is so balanced that it feels inevitable. The W108 280 SE 3.5 achieves that balance effortlessly, and that's why its appeal never fades. Technically, the model also laid groundwork for the innovations that followed. The lessons learned in managing power delivery, ride comfort, and safety engineering fed directly into Mercedes-Benz's next generation of vehicles. Anti-lock brakes, improved crumple zones, advanced climate control systems, all evolved from the philosophy that guided the W108 280 SE 3.5. It wasn't a car that changed everything overnight. It was a car that quietly built the foundation for everything that came after. More than 50 years later, driving a 280 SE 3.5 still feels relevant. It isn't fast by modern standards, but it has presence. Its steering speaks a language of confidence. Its ride reminds you that speed isn't the same as progress. What it delivers instead is grace, a kind of mechanical serenity that very few modern vehicles can replicate. The experience isn't about numbers, it's about rhythm, flow, and proportion. You drive it not to arrive faster, but to arrive better. This enduring quality is why the 1971 Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 remains a favorite among enthusiasts and restorers. It represents a point in time when Mercedes-Benz struck a perfect balance between craftsmanship and engineering innovation. Before computers defined calibration, Before luxury became software, there was this car, built by hands, measured by feel, perfected by logic. Its endurance as a collector's icon speaks not only to its build quality, but to its soul. Today, the influence of the W108 280 SE 3.5 can be seen in every modern Mercedes sedan. The calm authority, the subtle luxury, the sense that every detail has been tested for harmony, all trace their lineage to this model. Even the modern S-Class, with its digital precision and complex systems, still aims to replicate the same feeling of controlled elegance that began here. That continuity is the true measure of legacy. As we conclude this segment, the story of the 1971 Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 becomes more than a historical account. It becomes a reflection on what defines timeless design. In the next and final part, we will draw together its cultural significance, its mechanical influence, and its enduring relevance, exploring why this car remains a symbol of luxury's purest form and how it continues to inspire both engineers and dreamers around the world. The Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 of 1971 stands today as one of those rare creations that transcends its era. Half a century after it first turned a wheel, it still captures something essential about what makes a car more than machinery. It represents patience, precision, and purpose, a reminder that true luxury doesn't chase attention, it earns respect. Every line, every mechanical gesture, every sound it makes continues to echo the philosophy that built it. In reflecting on the W108 280 SE 3.5, what becomes clear is that its genius lies not only in what it did, but in what it refused to do. It never tried to dominate the road through volume or speed. It chose subtlety instead. It proved that engineering could be emotional, that power could exist without pretense, and that beauty could be born from proportion rather than ornament. These are lessons the automotive world still struggles to relearn today. When enthusiasts look back at the 1971 Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5, they see more than a collector's item. They see a turning point, the moment Mercedes-Benz defined a new language of prestige. The car's influence stretches through time, visible in the brand's unwavering commitment to comfort, safety, and composure. Even the way modern luxury sedans isolate noise, manage motion, and balance technology owes something to the foundation this car laid. The W108 280 SE 3.5 didn't just inspire admiration, it created expectations. Culturally, the car remains a symbol of refined confidence. It still appears in films, art, and private collections not because it's rare, but because it's right. It carries an aesthetic truth that doesn't fade. Its restrained profile and calm demeanor feel as relevant now as they did in 1971. For anyone seeking a lesson in timeless design, it stands as a masterclass: clarity over clutter, quality over quantity, substance over spectacle. There's also something deeply human about the W108 280 SE 3.5 story. It was built in a period when craftsmanship still had fingerprints, when engineers spent years refining the feel of a door handle, and designers shaped metal with intuition, not algorithms. That human touch is what gives the car its enduring warmth. When you sit behind its steering wheel, you can sense the care that went into every millimeter. You can feel the conviction that luxury should be honest, not extravagant. The endurance of the 1971 Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 offers a kind of reassurance in an age of disposable progress. It reminds us that technology serves best when guided by restraint, and that true prestige is measured not by cost, but by integrity. It stands as proof that excellence doesn't expire. As the story closes, the car's impact feels less like nostalgia and more like guidance. It shows us how ambition can coexist with humility, how innovation can respect heritage, and how precision can create emotion. The Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 didn't just define the luxury of the 1970s, It defined the blueprint for luxury itself. And that is why, decades later, when you see one glide past, you don't just see a classic, you see an ideal, still alive, still teaching, still relevant. The 1971 Mercedes-Benz W108 280 SE 3.5 remains what it always was, a moving expression of confidence that never needed to raise its voice.